Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and everybody's trying very hard not to giggle right now. Hey everybody, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Dawnbringers. This is Frozen Sacrifices. Dawnbringers, Rime of the Frostmaiden, Season 5, Episode 14 in our continuing campaign, happening every Thursday night right here on twitch.tv/Mini Terrain Domain. And the very first thing that I'm going to say before we get started is I'm going to drop a link in the chat. Please do, by all means, check this out. I put this out on Twitter, and I'm just going to make the statement here that Mini Terrain Domain stands against hate crimes against our Asian American and other friends. So I do have a link. Whoops, I just clicked the link in the browser. There are some fantastic resources here at the Anti-Asian Violence Resources. And I'm personally committing to looking into their bystander intervention training, which is the easiest thing that you can do to learn how to look out for these kind of things and look out for our friends. So I wanted to get that out there. We stand against Asian hate. All right. We've got another wonderful game coming up here in just a few moments. Get a couple of announcements out of the way, a recap, and then we're going to dive into it. First and foremost, of course, is Jasper's Game Day. We are getting that much closer to our big Jasper's Game Week. Week long. Actually, it's like 10 or more days this year. We've got D&D Beyond involved. We've got Paizo. We've got some friends in Australia involved. And we're going to be, we've added an extra day. We're doing 6 days, 4 games a day, 24 games throughout the week, right here on twitch.tv/Mini Terrain Domain, all raising money for Jasper's Game Day, which of course is an amazing organization dedicated to raising awareness, education, and ultimately the prevention of suicide through tabletop gaming. Please do check out at Jasper's Game Day on on Twitter to stay up to date with everything that they're doing, or check out jaspersgameday.com. Of course, if you type !Jaspers in the chat, or actually I think it's !Jasper in the chat, there will be a direct donation link that comes up if you want to donate now. Of course, you can also check out Initiative Coffee Company's Help Action by typing !Coffee to get yourself some Metade roast coffee, a wonderful blend of Peruvian and Brazilian roast coffees. For every 12-ounce bag that you purchase, $3 of that goes directly to benefit Jasper's Game Day. And of course, we're going to give an extra shout out to our sponsor, Talon and Claw, because starting tomorrow for 3 days, over on Talon and Claw, the twitch.tv/Talon and Claw is the first Talon and Claw TwitchCon. There's going to be some Jackbox games happening. There's going to be a couple of different D&D games. It's all to benefit Jasper's Game Day. And to start it off tomorrow, Fenway is actually running a game for some amazing folks. You can check out Talon and Claw, follow Talon and Claw on Twitter to see all of the news of who's playing what. But on Saturday, I'm going to be running the Liberation of the Evangeline 2. In the first one, back in November, the goblins... Flip, Flop, and Chop and their allies stole the Evangeline from Captain Dervish and are sailing off into the sunset. But word has it, they're going to have to deal with one Captain David Jones, Esquire, and his ghostly entourage. And of course, Sunday night will be a 4-hour epic Sea of Thieves stream in which not once, not twice, but at least 3 times I'm going to get a freaking boom barrel in range on Gary before he can snipe it out of my hands. My intent is to blow Gary up. I don't care about anything else. So tune in for that. I want to talk for a minute about the numbers and the dice up above V's head. It looks like I owe you 3 domain dice so far. Those are our domain dice. Through a $5 tip, 500 bits of cheering, raids, subscription, gift subscriptions, all of those things will earn them domain dice. A couple sessions ago, when they fought the ancient white dragon Arviatris, they went through 65 domain dice and used, I believe, 5 super crits to take down that massive ancient dragon. So their pool is depleting. However, I do owe some more, and it looks like Nuka DeLuca has just resubbed. Thank you so much. That is 4 domain dice. So that will put you, what are you at? 119. I can't do math. I'm going to do it this way. Because I have to change this. I don't mind at all having to change these numbers because it means you are supporting the Dawnbringers in an awesome way. And we appreciate it so much. There you go. So yeah, that's how you can have an impact on the game. The last thing I'm going to talk about before we get going here is, of course, one of the most important things. Another one of the, and probably the primary mission that we have here at Mini Terrain Domain is just raising awareness and destigmatizing mental health and talking about mental health. We know that it can be rough. And for a variety of reasons, pandemic aside, and everything that's been going on for the last year, sometimes you're just not okay. And that's okay. It's fine. It's okay to not be okay. But you don't have to be alone. And you do need to know that you matter. No matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, and whether or not you believe it, you matter. As they say at Jasper's Game Day, you are not a critical failure. So we encourage you to please reach out and get help. I did that well over a year ago. I reached out and I now see a therapist on a regular basis. I had an appointment a couple weeks ago. I look forward to them. I know that they're available if things are extra rough, and I need to talk to them. And it was one of the best decisions I have ever made. If you find yourself in this position where you need somebody to talk to, we want to help you. All you need to do is come here to Mini Terrain Domain, whether we are streaming or not, and you can type !help in the chat. By doing so, as it has automatically popped up, but I believe Jeremy also did it in the chat. You can see how that works. It pops up some wonderful resources for the National Suicide Lifeline, the Canadian Suicide Prevention Services Lifeline, as well as some text numbers and a URL where you can find help services available to you wherever you may be within the world. And we encourage you to please use those resources. All right, with that, I think it's time to turn down the temperature a little bit and head to the frozen north of Icewind Dale for some dungeons and one less dragons. All right. The Dawnbringers have found themselves in Icewind Dale unwittingly, but are making their way. Fortune would have it that they were closest to the town of Lonelywood, where they found a safe haven for several days, and even were given an old, rundown, abandoned inn as a sort of thank you for some work they did to clear the local logging forest of what was thought to be simply a troublesome moose and a few animals. Unfortunately, they ran into an old ally of theirs in the form of a former member of the Dawnbringers before they were even the Dawnbringers, a former friend of Talmud and Cantriel's, the druid Vi, from the town of Oakhurst. It turns out she did not take the death of her brother, who had been corrupted by the Gulthias tree, very well, and somehow found herself taking counsel from the vampire Gulthias that the Dawnbringers had accidentally freed. Gulthias is long since taken care of, but it seems he still is wreaking havoc on their lives in the form of Vi having headed to the north, seeking out this rare crystal metal called Chardolin that was left over from a magical disaster over 100 years ago, and is using it to bring back her brother as Belak the Malevolent, with a vow to raise 10 towns to the ground, restoring the north to its natural order. While trying to get more information about this Chardolin, getting the line on somebody in Bryn Shander who was also asking about this stuff, they got lost in the blizzard, attempted to control the weather with the recently repaired Summer Star. Turns out it was a one and boom magical item that Thorgarn accidentally exploded. And then it was, of course, at the same time that they veered off course and stumbled into Arviatris, the ancient white dragon, who also is responsible for having stolen the Evangeline and has taken the aft section of the ship somewhere in the north, along with Victor, the Spectator first mate, and the rest of the crew of the Evangeline. Where? They don't know. They killed the dragon, so they don't know where its lair is. After killing the dragon, they ran into some goblins who Talmud was able to impress with the feat of having killed the dragon. They surprisingly shared a camp that night, but the goblins were gone when they awoke in the morning, and they continued their journey to Bryn Shander, where they discovered that this very night a sacrifice to Auriel is happening, and Bryn Shander practices the something called the lottery, and everybody is being summoned to the center of town as the Dawnbringers were at the tavern talking to another former or old friend of theirs, one Baron from Oakhurst, at the Northlook. And it's pretty much at this point where we left off, as we could see various torchlights and lanterns of everybody gathering in the center of town at the town square for the lottery. Everybody is now at the North Look, and is standing watching as people are heading off that way. And you're kind of out in front in the street. What would you like to do, Dawnbringers?
I believe it was Drown's intention to go watch the lottery.
I know Drown had, paid for rooms or asked about rooms, and we were given a key or keys.
2 rooms.
Discussing that, some were gonna, just stay in our rooms. Others were gonna go to the spectacle or whatever, the lottery. Thorgarn was definitely not going to the lottery.
So Thorgarn's going to stay at the North Look. Drown's going to go.
Yep. It would be a very, very bad idea for Talmud to go. It would end poorly for us. So he's not going to.
Fair enough.
Big is going to go, but he doesn't want to get anywhere close. Like, he just wants to see from a very, very distance. just to observe what happens and why people are doing this. He's very curious about why people do what they do and how this is a high emotion thing, and he would like to see that. So
be
Cantriel would also
interesting
go 'cause she'd
data.
want to sort of.
Sorry.
Cantriel would also go because she'd want to get a better feel for if Oral shows up, because she also still has her mark on her. Just saying.
Right,
I think
right.
tonight's like the last night it's going to expire too.
Oh yeah, because your mark stays for 7 days,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got the one last day that the mark is still there.
I think that's going to be the first time I've ever seen that spell elapse without like the death of whatever was marked. That's incredible.
Usually whatever it is marked for the rest of its life.
Exactly.
I was gonna say
bye.
the session is just starting, Jeremy. It's not over yet.
You know,
That's fair.
You've
Things
already killed an
happen.
ancient white dragon. Who knows what else is gonna happen?
let's a deity. No big deal. Just a thing that happens.
So, the dwarves are staying behind, and the others are going to the town square. Baron is going to stay behind. I have a pretty good idea what's going to happen here, and I don't really have an interest in this. So, Talmud, I'll stay here with you. And
I certainly have an interest. I just know enough that my cousin and I would certainly cause some trouble because we don't want to see what's actually going to happen. We would try and stop it.
well, there's wisdom in recognizing what your limitations or even what might set you off is. So,
We're
well,
not known for controlling our tempers.
Actually,
Some
Baron,
of
that's
us
probably a good point.
Cranky.
Keep an eye on those two.
I was about to suggest that as he sort of pats his belt pouch and you hear the jingle of coins, several rounds would be on me. Is that a good idea or a bad idea in this case?
That's a wonderful idea.
I was asking Cantriel.
Well,
He was asking me. I think it's a
Fair
fantastic
enough.
idea.
that's what. You know what? It's fine. He's gotta,
Actually,
like,
Talmud, before we go in, I've got something that might interest you. And he reaches into his main pack he's not wearing, but he has one of those like that sits at the small of your back, like so he's carrying some things. He reaches in and he pulls out an amber bottle. And you recognize the label on it. I believe you developed a taste for Kiergan back in Oakhurst.
that's a bottle of Kiergan, is it?
Indeed it is. It's one of 6 I have.
Well, we should get started then.
He looks over at Cantriel and the others and says, I think we'll be fine here.
I think you have everything very well in hand for them.
Well, watch yourselves and...
Won't do anything we'd do.
Yeah. Try to, whatever happens, try not to get involved.
I have no intention of interfering.
And
Merely
then
wish to see.
you just hear that as he pops open the bottle, and immediately, he doesn't even take a swig, he immediately hands it over to Talmud. And they, the two dwarves and Baron, head back towards the the sort of front porch area. There's like this deck area at the front of the North Look. The crowds are still moving toward the center of town. Cantriel, Drown, and Fig. You can easily see where everybody's moving, and you can get as close or as far from the center of town as you would like. The closer you get to the town square, the thicker the crowds become. Oddly, there is a bit of ambient warmth from all of the bodies and a lot of lanterns and torches that are being held aloft as this whole town square area is glowing with firelight.
Drown is going to kind of push through the crowd, not rudely, but the sort where people are going to get out of his way. He's not really intending to stop, just until he can get a good vantage point on wherever the action seems to be happening. No need to get like close or right up on it unless that's what it takes to see.
Given your height, and just your overall size, people are moving out of your way. One, your height gives you the advantage of being able to see over pretty much everybody. You can see that there has been a platform erected in the center of town, and that the town speaker is currently not visible, but there are a couple other people that are standing by. It looks like soon the ceremony will begin. I would say you're able to comfortably get within distance that you think you would all be able to hear without having to get too close. And if you decide you want to move closer or further away, just let me know. The crowd is relatively quiet. You hear a few murmurs here and there. Cantriel, with your passive perception, you notice that there's a handful of people that are giving you 3-second looks. The three of you, more so Drown and Fig, stand out more than anybody else here in town. And you actually hear, you can't quite pinpoint who it is in the crowd, but you hear whispers of, I heard, oh yeah, they killed the dragon. No, I heard they killed the dragon. And so you whispers are moving through the crowd, but nothing more than that. Overall, the crowd seems relatively subdued. Through no predetermined signal other than Drown, you see the town speaker, Duvessa Shane, walk up onto the platform. And that's enough to stop all of the murmuring. There are... The town of Bryn Shander looks big enough to hold more than 1,000 people. And you get the impression that most, if not all, of those 1,000+ people are in the town square or spilling out of or flowing into the streets that run off of this area. But you
Here's
wouldn't...
a quick question based on the crowd. Is it all adults or are there kids here too?
There are children in the crowd.
That's effed up. Okay.
The surprising thing is that for 1,000 or more people, it is almost dead silent. The only thing you can hear is a little bit of the wind, the slight rustling of clothing, and you can hear the popping, hissing, and burning of torches and lanterns all around you. Speaker Duvessa Shane, as she steps up onto the platform, you see that there is a bald, dark-skinned man standing next to her. He looks to be in a position of authority, most likely leader of the militia or local sheriff. You've not met him, so it's hard to know for sure. But he stands slightly behind her left side with this air of authority about him, scanning the crowd. Devessa speaks loud enough to be heard without yelling. She speaks to project her voice, and you hear a few murmurs here and there for people that are on the outskirts of this crowd that can't quite hear. They're quickly and quietly passing her words back through to the others at the far edges. People of Bryn Shandar, it is again another month that has passed, and another time that we find ourselves here for this task that lies before us. We do this thing because we must. The lottery is the safest and fairest way for us to choose how to hold the Frostmaiden at bay for another month. For those of you that begin to question it and wonder why we do it, remember when we tried the Nights of No Warmth and the other sacrifices, and how they did not work. We are one of the larger of the 10 towns, and Ariel knows that the greatest thing we have to offer is ourselves. That is why every individual in Bryn Shandar, ages 16 and up, or the equivalent maturity age, depending on the more long-lived individuals, all names are going into the bowl, including mine. I will not be left out of this. You must know by now how difficult this is. But it is time that we make this sacrifice to survive for another month here in Icewind Dale and Bryn Shandar. Sheriff Markham Southwell, as always, will draw from the bowl. We'll read out the name. When your name is called, you will come here to the front. Sheriff Southwell's militia is positioned throughout to help you should you need assistance coming forward. Sheriff Southwell, the sheriff, as you now know who this other individual is, steps forward. He doesn't say anything. There is a large brass bowl that is on this platform. Inside it are a number of pieces of parchment. It just hundreds and hundreds, most likely close to 1,000. You don't know how many children there are, under the ages of 16 or equivalent in this town, but there's hundreds and hundreds of pieces of parchment in this bowl. He begins churning the pages, and you can, even at this distance, you can hear the parchment shuffling, sounding like dry, rustling leaves in this bowl. As he continues to shift it around, and then his hand stops. When he stops shuffling, you hear all around you the collective. Still, nobody says a name. Nobody says a word. And then you hear from Sheriff Markham Southwell, his voice booming across the crowd. Callan! Iron spoke. All around you, the people nearest you, you hear that same collective breath released. Sighs of relief. Still, no sign that anybody's coming forward. Callan! Iron spoke. The name begins to travel through the crowd. Where's Callan? The Iron Spokes. They live on the south side of town. Once more, his voice louder and with an edge to it. Callan, Iron Spoke. Your name has been drawn in the lottery. Then you hear, far off to the side, the opposite side of where you came in from the north, you hear, I'm here, I'm coming. And eventually, you can see the crowd starting to part. A halfling man who looks to be somewhere in maybe his 30s or 40s comes hurriedly up to the platform. I'm here. Sorry. I was way at the back. It took a minute. I am here. Devessa Shane again addresses the crowd. To the right of Lottery, Callan Iron Spoke has been drawn. It will be sacrificed to Ariel, the Frostmaiden. We begin. The rest of the ceremony begins to take place with no spoken words. Sheriff Markham Southwell gives just a motion, and 4 of the similarly dressed Brinshander militia come up to the platform, and they post all around Callan Iron Spoke. Without having to be told, he seems to understand as he looks around, and he begins to disrobe. In a matter of moments, this halfling man has stripped down to nothing. the crowd nearest to you three begins to separate as they are forming a path from the platform. And as you watch and you sort of move with the crowd to one side, you see that they are opening the path through to the north gate. The four guards, with Speaker Duvessachane and Sheriff Markham Southwell at the lead, and Kellen Ironspoke in the midst of all of them, they walk down from the platform. They begin walking through the crowd. You don't hear anything much from anybody around you, but you notice that those closest to the stage, as the entourage begins to move closer to you, you see some people closing ranks behind, some men, women, children, all ages. Many of them are openly weeping. You also notice, as this entourage grows closer, that in the front of them is a halfling woman, and she holds a baby wrapped in swaddling, and there looks to be a teenage child or teenager with her as well, holding her hand. You can see the similarity in the teenage boy to Kellen Ironspoke. This is clearly his wife and children. In a matter of moments, the entourage passes by you, Drown, Fig, and Cantriel. As they do, you see that Kellen, already beginning to shiver, is holding his chin high. But you can see that he has tears coming down his face. The crowd, as they pass, the crowd around you is beginning to filter in to follow the entourage. Are you following?
Yeah, Drown is for sure following.
So you fold in behind them and are able to continue walking back the way you came. I'm wondering, with the amount of time that's passed, I think there's a point, Talmud and Thorgarn, as you're sharing a couple bottles of Kirgin with Baron. Baron seems slightly distracted, and at a certain point, he says, "Right, well, it's probably best not to deprive the North look of our business. I've got more Kirgin for later. Maybe we should go in and actually buy some ale from them? Unless you're opposed to having me buy you ale."
I mean, it's a poor follow-up to Kirgin, but I mean, if you're buying, then that's free.
Absolutely. And he opens up the door and holds it open for the two of you to move in, with his arm held high up and sort of ushering you in under. He glances back, and I can just imagine Drown, Fig, and Cantriel, knowing that you're coming back this way. You just catch a glimpse of Baron ushering the dwarves inside before this entourage comes by. So you are brought inside. You don't see the entourage that passes by. As it gets to the gate, the crowd begins to slow down. Sheriff Southwells gives an indication to the guards at the north gate. They move, and they open the door. Devessa Shane steps to the side and looks at the shivering, naked halfling man. She drops to one knee and bows to him. Sheriff Southwell does the same. And you notice all around you as the people of Bryn Shander are dropping to one knee. Do you also drop to one knee? Drown does not.
It's in my ceremony. I'm just here to observe.
Fig, Cantriel?
I do think Fig would if he's seeing everyone else do it.
Okay.
Cantriel doesn't kneel, but she puts her hand over her heart and just bows her head.
Nobody says anything to you. Whether you kneel or not, nobody around you says anything. The doors open, and for a moment, it looks like this halfling man is not going to go anywhere. His feet seem to be rooted to the ground. And then suddenly he takes a step forward and another. And as he does, the 4 guards move with him. As they pass through the doors, they continue on moving until they are beyond the view of light and vision, both natural and enhanced. They continue on for quite a ways. Nobody says anything. Nobody moves. After several minutes, you hear the crunching sound of snow and ice approaching the gate. The 4 guards return without the halfling. As soon as they are inside, you hear the sounds of the gate creaking shut, and then the heavy wood dropped into place as they're barred. It's not until Sheriff Markham Southwell and Speaker Devessa Shane rise from their knee that the rest of the town stands and quietly begins to disperse. You have just witnessed the monthly sacrifice, sending a person chosen by lottery to die of exposure as sacrifice to Aureel, the Frostmaiden. What would the 3 of you do in the moments as the crowd is dispersing?
Drown is actually just going to spend some time not even really moving, just watching all of the crowd as they go, and basically just let them thin out and leave, unless someone else says or does something.
Fig?
Fig is going... He's going to approach the gate. He doesn't open it or anything, but he's going to approach the gate, and he's just going to stand there. And if nobody stops him, I think he would stand there for the night, just like looking out at the gate, just unmoving.
There's a few tense moments from the guards as you approach the gate. And then the sheriff kind of leans over to the speaker and just says, "Is this something I need to worry about?" And she just says, I think he'll be all right. I met him earlier. This is new and different, I think, for them. Have your people keep an eye on him, but do not interfere if not necessary. Nobody will bother you, at least of the guards, from what you can tell. What about you, Cantriel?
She'll look up to Drown and then look to Fig and look back to Drown. Should we leave him here outside and go in? And she'll pull a crystal bead from her hair and just sort of twist it in her fingers. Or do we stay out here with him for the night?
Does Fig care about the cold? I haven't been able to tell.
I don't know if it fully affects him in terms of getting cold and everything that happens to those of the more fleshy variety, but I do worry that it might affect some of his functions.
I trust that he won't stand there until he freezes to death. I see no need to interrupt him. I have seen all I wish to see.
Then why don't you get yourself a drink?
You'll
Or
remain?
more. I'm just going to go check on Fig.
I will wait at least that long then.
She'll just nod her head and then she walks over towards where Fig is standing at the gate. She'll make a point to look at the speaker and the guards and just sort of looks to them, looks to Fig, and just very like hands up, like I am not going to start anything. My intention is for my companion type of gesture.
The guards are just watching. They don't seem particularly concerned.
So she'd walk up over to Fig and just place a hand on his back shoulder. Fig. Are you going to try and stay out here all night?
Fig is quiet for a very long time, maybe to the point where you maybe wonder if he's going to say anything. And then you hear just a very quiet, I have never felt this emotion before. No, that is incorrect. I have felt this emotion once before. It was when Talmud was falling from the ship, and I went to cast a spell that would save him. But it was countered, and I could do nothing.
That's fair. What would you like to do to adjust to this emotion?
I am unsure. I must process this.
Then may I ask a favor of you?
Yes.
Please come inside. It's already a hard enough night as it is. Having to stand by, knowing what's happened.
I will. Like, this is after a while of pause, and I will come in. I am not ready to face the others yet.
Why is that?
Because they did not see, and they will carry on as if nothing happened.
Do you really think that Thorgarn and Talmud are going to act that way?
It is their coping mechanism. At least Talmud.
She'll grin. All right, so that's fair. Fair statement. You're not wrong.
And his coping is not mine.
Then may I sit with you while I use my own coping mechanism?
He just nods.
Cantriel will take out her lute and she'll just start playing some very soft, mellow music. It's not a particular tune. It's more just wandering through notes in more minor tones. But she'll sort of sit with, not sit, more like stand, because sitting in the snow, bad idea. But she'll stand with Fig for a little bit, just to make sure Fig's okay before she'll go back in before the elements start affecting her.
How long will you stay?
Fig, he will not stay as long as, like, if he can tell that his, like, body is beginning to freeze up and his parts are just not, if it's going to cause damage to it, then he will come in. But as long as he doesn't feel it, he will stay out there.
So, I don't believe you have any magical items that give you resistance or immunity to cold, but you do have cold weather gear, correct?
Yeah.
So I would say if you stay out there for more than 3 hours, you'll have to make a Constitution saving throw.
Yeah, he won't stay out there for that.
So,
for more
I mean,
than that,
I would say it's kind of like as those of us in northern states or in northern countries know, in extreme cold, you kind of get to the sense of when the shivering is more than just a little thing, it's becoming a problem. So with that in mind, you would know after a couple hours that this is not wise to stay out here. So yeah, about 2.5 hours, you would start to realize this. I would like, since you're specifically sitting out here in contemplation, I want Cantriel and Fig to roll me an insight check. Drown, you could do so as well, since you witnessed the ceremony and were more thinking about it.
I can roll dice, sure. Insight, eh?
Yeah.
Yes, Drown, that super paragon of relating to
21
other people.
for
Hey,
Cantriel.
16. Not bad.
Okay.
Paying attention. Focused.
Fig, I think based on what you said, you're more spending your time trying to understand, having witnessed this act of sacrifice, and trying to understand how so many people could witness this and just go back to normal as if it didn't happen. Drown and Cantriel, remembering what you've heard from Speaker Duvessa Shane, and the fact that they have chosen, they learned that only a couple months in to the everlasting Rime, that the sacrifices were the best way to appease the Frostmaiden, and that Bryn Shander isn't the only town that does this.
Right.
The Rime has been in effect for 2 years. You know that in Bryn Shander alone, that means that more than 20 people have been sacrificed to the Frostmaiden in just this town. And that number just multiplies with every other town that participates in the sacrifices, not to mention the people who are losing their lives due to the extreme cold brought about continuously without respite because of this. Do with that knowledge whatever you will, but that is a realization you come to during this contemplation. Drown, you went inside while the other two stayed out, or did you stay out with them? You muted.
Whoopsie-doo. He's just kind of muted to the spot where he was. Rooted, not muted. I was muted. He's just kind of staying there and really just watching the two of them for now. If it looks like they're going to stay out for hours, he'll probably just leave them to their own devices. But yeah, he's not interested in, he's not in a hurry to go drinking or anything. He was mostly just taking in as much of this spectacle as he could.
I almost imagine you stand there for a while and then you start to think, well, if they don't move soon, I'm gonna go in. Wait, did they move? All right, well, I'll give them a little bit longer. All right, come on. I've been out here long enough that I need to stay out here even longer.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going in now. Yeah. I mean, I'm not cold. This is fine. Drown would actually be a little bit sort of 1,000-yard stare, kind of just, zoned out when Cantriel starts playing. So he's probably just as statuesque as Fig tends to be when he's standing and staring. Drown is much the same way, just like, snow piling up on his shoulders and,
So,
odd sight.
Talmud, Baron is buying drinks for a good couple hours. Thorgarn, I don't know if you're drinking along with them or not.
Thorgarn is drinking like he's never drunk before.
So
there's the other coping mechanism.
He is not. He knows what's going on. Thorgarn, while it doesn't really look that way, he's actually really insightful, so he knows exactly what's going on, and he is here because he can't just go and cause trouble because it's going to mess up a whole lot, and we've already gone against this thing and didn't go as well. So he is drinking to forget of what's going on where he's not.
Oriel jacked us up. That first encounter, like we didn't scratch her.
So that's what he's doing.
All right, so go ahead.
Talmud's drinking him. He's drinking him as fast as Baron's buying him.
Okay. So it's, for the most part, it's the three of you in here. Baron went behind, because as you'll remember, the bartender, the owner of the North Look, actually gave you guys the keys to the rooms and left to go attend the ceremony. The proprietor, the human named, well, you didn't get his name actually. Baron seems to be a trustworthy fellow. Every time he goes behind the bar to pull some ales or grab a bottle, he drops more coin on the counter to account for it. Eventually, there is a very red-faced and red-nosed Baron, as well as two red-faced dwarves, slamming wooden mugs of ale together. Bawdy songs are sung. You hear some, though you may not remember them, or you may not remember the details of them. You hear some of Baron's adventures in the Feywild. He's become quite eloquent in describing, perhaps taking liberties with truth in some places, exaggerating, or it's the Feywild. Maybe he's dead on, and and that's exactly how things are. As in the heat of one particular tail as he's got his arm with a mug of ale around your shoulder, Talmud. He's got an arm with another mug of ale around your shoulder, Thorgarn. And he's drawing the two mugs closer and closer together as he says, "So there I was. My upper half was trapped inside the man-eating plant. The vines had me by the lower half. And no matter how hard, they were just constantly pulling me apart, pushing me together. I didn't know if I was going to get pulled apart. I didn't know if I was going to get half eaten and half turned into topsoil." And then you hear
somehow it's almost like I was there. I understand exactly how you feel right now.
As you hear this other voice that says, "So, how did you get out of there?" There's a fourth individual that's been at this table for you don't know how long. Somewhere along the way, this person has joined you and is partaking in all of the booze that Baron is buying. And as this individual says this, the doors open up and the cold wind blows in, as Drown, Fig, and Cantriel eventually come back in. And the three of you see Talmud and Thorgarn sitting at a table with Baron, all of them obviously drunk. And they are sitting there with mugs of ale, empty mugs, empty bottles, and there seems to be a silver dragonborn drinking with them. And that's what you walk in to see, is the three of them with a silver dragonborn. What do you do?
First, quick check-in. How long has it been since Kellen was led off into the tundra?
About 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. All right. So he's completely exposed. It's possible he might not last as long as someone normally might out there in the cold.
Correct.
All right. Drown is going to go find like a bench, just something sturdy enough that'll support him. He's going to settle down on it in a dark corner of the tap room, reach into one of his pouches and pull out a handful of fine sand and an ink-stained seagull feather, and just sort of roll those in his hand and begin chanting in just low under his breath, this deep bass rumble in primordial, in the Aquan dialect. He's casting Dream. So he's going to cast Dream, and I am sending a dream to Kellen Ironspoke. So I will go into a trance, basically until he falls asleep. But I'm still aware of my surroundings.
Okay.
So just in case. So in the dark corner, there's probably this deep green shimmery glow of his tattoos just sort of writhing, almost like shining through water. And that's pretty much all you can see of him.
Fig and Cantriel would probably know what's going on because you've done this spell before. What kind of a dream are you sending? Oh, go ahead, Cantriel.
No, Cantriel would just go over and sort of like almost not stand guard, but make sure that no one comes over in attempt to disrupt or anything of that sort. Basically, she's going to stand there with an arched brow and just pissed off face.
So really, I'm just doing the whole messenger bid. I'm just going to show up in his dream. I'm not looking to shape it into anything in particular, at least not at first. Just show up wherever he's at.
So yeah, you're able to do so, and I imagine you sort of within this dream that you bring to this halfling man, you reach out and you find him, and you bring this dream to him that you stay on the outskirts as an observer within this dream. And within the scope of this dream, you feel the extreme cold that he couldn't help but focus on. But with your arrival, the cold seems to push away. And you see Kellen Ironspoke standing there wearing buckskin trousers, bare feet, his toes digging into the soft topsoil, fresh shoots of grass and flowers growing, hints in the distance of snow still present, melting away. Blue sky, sun shining brilliantly from above. Looking around, if there was any doubt, you know this is Icewind Dale. There you see the spine of the world in the distance. You see Mount Reghead far to the east. You see what was to the north, the sea of moving ice. But in this dream, it is an azure sea stretching as far as you can see. You hear laughter as Kellen's wife is suddenly sitting on the grass near him with their small child crawling through and reaching for a flower. And you see the teenage son come rushing up and put his arms around Kellen as the family sits there for the course of this dream that you present, enjoying a picnic, enjoying the summer that has come to Icewind Dale. Until however much time passes, you know that within this dream a full day transpires, but you know that it's only another 30 minutes as together as a family they watch the sunset. When the sun dips below the horizon, the dream ends prematurely, and you know that the connection has been lost, and you know why. And I know it's early, but we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break after
Good
that.
point for it.
Take a point of inspiration for that dream, Dan.
Oh, thank you.
That was wonderfully done. We're going to go ahead and take a break. Thank you, everybody who has tuned in so far. Thank you for those who have subscribed, the raids, any other support contributing to the Domain Dice Pool. Please stick around. We will be back in just about 10 minutes. And we're back. So at this point, it's more or less at the point where shortly after this whole thing, Drown and Cantriel sort of stayed in the corner. The dwarves and Baron and the Silver Dragonborn are drinking and swapping tales. Fig, what would you have done when you came back into the Northlook?
I think that Fig would have, I think, gone up into one of the rooms that that Drown had gotten for them, and I think he would just spend the rest of the night tinkering with some of the various odds and ends that he has procured throughout their travels, just different flasks, and perhaps the room might be a little different colored than when just blues and purples and greens, maybe smoke you might see from under the door every so often, as Fig is going to busy himself with some of his experiments.
Okay. So at some point, not sure when, because of everybody sort of either being too drunk to know what's going on or off in the corner. Eventually, the proprietor comes back. A few people do come in. They give some sidelong glances over to your table because they're much quieter. They're not completely silent, but it appears that at least a couple of toasts are said to the Iron Spoke family, and even the proprietor, the bartender, comes out with them, brings a round of shots that they all do in honor of Kellen's Iron Spoke. He does start to look like he's going to come over and say something to all of you when he sees the collection of empty bottles and everything at your table, but then he notices the large pile of coin on the table or on the counter and realizes that Baron's been paying all along and decides better of it, goes back and doesn't give you any trouble over that.
So I don't know exactly where Thorgarn is at this point in time. He does not drink anywhere near as much as Talmud does, so he doesn't have, I guess, the tolerance, and he's certainly not as hardy as his cousin either. So if by some miracle he's still conscious when the place begins to fill up with those who went to the ceremony, he'll probably toss a handful of coins on the bar and just make his way up to the room and pass out. If he's not already unconscious at the table, that's completely up to you.
Why don't you go ahead and make me a Constitution saving throw, since you're drinking like you've never drank before, and because you're a dwarf, I'll let you do it at advantage.
Well, that's 25.
So you do get sufficiently sloshed. You're walking a little sideways. You find it odd that this entire tavern was built at an angle, no matter which way you look. But otherwise, you're able to maintain consciousness. And if it weren't for the conveniently placed walls and railings and that rather disgruntled looking half-elf, you're they all provide you with a small amount of stability to make your way back up to your room.
So he's the entire way up the bar, the entire way up to the rooms. He is going to defend his actions in conversation with Father Griffin as to why he didn't go and why he chose this angle and why he's drank this much, and no, I'm not a disappointment, and all that stuff.
This I imagine this is a, though not often, a common conversation to have once in a while. Some common arguments between you and Father Griffin. What about old Talmud?
Has Baron stopped paying?
Nope. So you're just going to keep drinking as long as he's paying?
Yep.
Go ahead and roll me con save at advantage. Somewhere along the way, I imagine this turns into a drinking contest with you and Baron.
That's a likely end point. Constitution save. That is a 21.
Okay. Interesting. I also got a 21. All right, go ahead, roll that again.
That's another 21.
I also got another 21.
Because that's the legal drinking age.
I rolled the same number on that one. So, all right, let's go again.
I did too. Okay.
Oh,
Oh wow. I've hit my stride, Jake. It's a 23.
For this one, Baron gets a 12. Eventually, long after people have left, and the bartender has, an owner has left you with a bottle and taken Baron's money and said, "That's the last of it. Do not go behind the bar because I'll know if you have." And Baron's struggling to pour these last glasses. And as you set it down, set your finished glass down, Baron's still drinking, and his head's going further and further back until you notice it just pouring down his front, and it just falls to the side, and he goes, and he just kind of slumps over on the already passed out Silver Dragonborn that's leaning against him. And you've drunk a Dragonborn and Baron, not quite under the table, but you don't remember going back up to your room, but you do eventually. And unless there's something anybody else wants to do in this night, I am just checking something real quick.
Cantriel would want to talk with Drown after the dream.
Okay, you can go ahead and do that while I look up what I need to look up.
Yeah, that only
cool.
lasts about 30 minutes or so, and then the glow fades and Drown blinks his eyes.
That was good of you to do.
I suppose. It was peaceful. My intention was not to do good. I meant him
What
no
was it?
harm.
What did you want from it?
Curiosity, I suppose. The
About what?
guard seemed uneasy when Fig approached the gate. I had thought to follow Kellen out into the snow, but thought better of it when I saw them. His last moments were very peaceful, at least in his mind. I decided against interrupting that.
That's probably for the best, considering what he would have been aware of if you hadn't have done that.
It would have brought his attention back to the truth. That is probably true.
I think I'd prefer my last minutes to be spending time with the ones I love in my mind than being fully aware of the environment around me and regretting that I'm not spending time with the ones I love.
Then his final dream was your wish. It was summer, and he was on the tundra in the sun with his family. I expect people would find that comforting.
Out here? Of course. Well, that's more proof that was his wish.
Yes. I wanted to ask him how he felt.
Why would you want to know that?
He went willingly to his death. And I've seen us cast ourselves headlong into death's jaws numerous times, but there was always a purpose. This is senseless. Do they truly believe it holds the Frostmaiden at bay? And he just sort of looks out at the shimmering aurora out in the night sky. It has been 2 years. Did he truly believe his sacrifice was meaningful? Had he simply given up, knowing that the soldiers would drag him to his death?
Or did he give up his life for his child?
I suppose that would be the first option. He would have found meaning in it. To me, it seems diluted.
Love for a child will make you do strange things. It may not be something everyone will agree with or understand, or even be able to come to terms with years from now.
I wonder how many months until his child will have his name in the bowl.
Well, if we have anything to do with it going headlong into situations, hopefully never.
Our first encounter with this Oriel did not go well. It'll be
No.
interesting to see when we encounter her again.
I'm curious to see what happens. Stranger
wonder
things
how-
have been known to occur.
We have seen stranger things occur. I wonder how many of these people actually believe in these sacrifices.
That might be something you'd have to find out for yourself. I don't think that's something that's going to be openly admitted.
That is most certainly something you have to find out for yourself. And he stands up with a groaning creak of the bench he's sitting on and tromps toward the rooms.
Cantriel will go over to the table where Talmud is, passed out, and pick him up like a 3-year-old child, pick him up type of situation, and take him upstairs.
He's got the dangly limbs.
Yep, just all floppy mode.
I would pay money to see Cantriel carry Talmud. That would be a fight up the stairs the whole way. That would be hilarious.
Fig.
But thank you.
Fig, I want you
If you're passed
I want
out.
you to roll me a D100.
47.
47. So, a few things happen as you're messing around with your potions and various magical things. Some of them happen before anybody comes up to the rooms. You mix certain potions together that explode violently, causing a rainbow of colors, as you said, to go across bed, dresser, wall. It doesn't look like multicolored liquid was spilled. You legitimately change the color of these objects as if they were painted in this way. Whether it's permanent or not, you do not know. At one point, you do something and it backfires. And you find that about once a minute, a tiny magic missile randomly shoots from one of your fingers. But it doesn't do damage like a magic missile. At one point, Thorgarn, walking quite stumbly, comes up and doesn't even notice as he opens the door and one of these little strikes him and turns his beard into a beard of feathers. Thorgarn is having some conversation with this unseen Father Greffin, and doesn't seem to notice. A few moments later, he sneezes and all the feathers go, and he just kind of waves away at them as he's drifting off to sleep. Eventually, Cantriel brings Talmud up and lays him down unceremoniously. Just before Cantriel comes in, one of these missiles goes, and in the corner of the room, all of a sudden you hear, and you look, and there stands a majestic unicorn. It does not seem perturbed, but it does not look like it belongs here at all. A moment later, it vanishes. When it vanishes, there's butterflies everywhere for a few moments. The last of the butterflies sort of flitters out of existence into a sparkle of blue and white light just as the door opens and Cantriel comes in, having seen none of this. And the final thing that happens is after Talmud starts to snore and you're sort of settling into your sentinel state where you just sit idly by for the evening, trying not to fire off any of these missiles. Ping! Right in Talmud's butt. I should say in his butt cheek. Let me rephrase that. And only you, and maybe if somebody happens to glance over and thinks it's a bleary-eyed dream, you turn Talmud into a sheep. He'll get better. He'll turn better by morning, but you actually watch him in this sort of sentinel state. And after after an hour or so, he poofs back into his Talmud dwarven self. Just riffing off of what you were doing with your messing around with stuff. No lasting damaging effects other than this room has permanently been changed into the spectrum of colors. I don't remember who said it in the chat. Somebody said something about Fig making sure that you don't get your security deposit back. But you have an otherwise restful night. You all awaken in Talmud and Thorgarn. You're feeling a bit extra groggy, and you've got the old hangover headache going. But you do smell breakfast cooking downstairs. You all can smell breakfast being served. Unless there's something you would like to do, you can all head downstairs. But I won't stop you if there's conversations or any other things that you want to do. So as you all head downstairs, you find that almost as if the events of last night didn't happen, the morning crowd is in the tavern. People are talking cheerfully, getting ready for various jobs throughout the day. Surprisingly, Baron is wide awake, has reserved your table, and just kind of gives a wave over to you all as you start heading down. And you see the Silver Dragonborn is sitting at the table with him, and they are sitting closely talking, and they've got some papers in front of them that they're kind of animatedly talking about. As you walk over, you see... Go ahead.
Just as a point of clarification, this is not the Platinum Dragonborn that we saw in the vision.
No, this is a Silver Dragonborn.
Okay, just making certain.
No, that's an important distinction, but this is a Silver Dragonborn. So as you walk over to the table, you do see that Baron and this Dragonborn are looking at some maps, and kind of pointing at different directions, and you can see there are some indication that this is a map of 10 towns in the surrounding Icewind Dale area. What would you all say or do as you approach the table and see Baron and this unknown Dragonborn?
So I imagine Thorgarn's not really looking, ready to look at maps or make any kind of plans. He's got to get some water and food into his system to deal with that whole head thing that he probably hasn't had to deal with since, I guess, returning to, was it Oakhurst, when basically everyone that he was traveling with was dead.
Right.
So yeah, this is not really something that he likes to revisit.
That's not Drown's buddy, so Drown's going to go order a big round of breakfast for everyone with like extra eggs and bacon, nice and greasy for the dwarves.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I need a shot of something strong and greasy food.
Valoran has told me how to cure a dwarf's hangover.
It pays to know a dwarf.
Cantriel will plunk the shot down next to Talmud and just give him a sly grin. I got to sweep you off your feet last night. It was grand. and then she'll leave the tavern.
What? He kind of like looks around. What did I do?
I don't know. You were still drinking when I went up.
Oh no, I might have to have a second. He kind of looks around for the keep.
Oh, and as a note, once the drinks and food arrive, Drown will pass his hand over the tankards, whisper a word, and his tattoos will shimmer, and both of the beers will be basically using prestidigitation, so they'll have a shot of really piquant hot sauce in them.
So after the comment you had about what Fig was experimenting with, is my beard okay?
Your beard is perfectly fine.
Okay.
But as you woke up, and even coming downstairs for the next hour or so, every once in a while, a feather just seems to come out from inside the midst of the beard. A really light, fluffy, downy feather, the kind that seems to just hang in the air. At one point, in fact, when you first see one, it kind of floats up in front of you. They're so light, just that slight intake of breath, and it just goes right into your mouth. So yeah, you'll have feathers appear
Talmud looks
every once in a while.
Talmud looks kind of jealously at it, and like grabs one of them out of the air. You had a feathered pillow to sleep on?
I don't know. There, you want it?
No. He like just throws it.
I don't know what happened, but somehow the bonus number for the domain dice disappeared and turned backwards. I don't know what happened. I had to do something to get it to even show up. I noticed it was missing. I don't know what happened.
It got drunk too.
Yeah, you guys got so drunk you screwed with the domain dice. All right, so we've got hangover cures, and we've got random feathers. Is anybody saying anything to Baron or the Dragonborn?
I imagine at some point in time, we will. He did say something yesterday about wanting to do something, showing us somewhere. I don't recall exactly what that was last week that we talked about.
Yeah. So, sorry, I was distracted trying to fix this. It was irritating me. I think I fixed it now. There we go. I apologize. So yeah, as you get settled into the table, Baron says, "All right, this here is Torvis. Torvis has agreed to help us out. He knows the area a little bit better than I do, and we got to talking, and he actually knows where this place is that Vi is holding up at." And he lays out these maps, and I was trying to get the map repositioned, and I didn't have it ready. The wonderful map that Devin Rue drew of Icewind Dale, but that was acting up and got caught up in whatever caused the numbers to go wonky. But I'll have that available for later. He begins to unroll the maps, and he says, we've got quite a ways to travel. We're going to have to travel through a lot of off-road area, and we are going to be heading down here, and he indicates a mountain range known as the it's written across the map as the Spine of the World. It's right in here, yeah? Yes. It is an old fortress called Sunblight. The stories say that it was once inhabited by Thorgarn. But last I heard, it had been abandoned for several decades. Until recently. It appears that this friend of yours has taken up residence there, along with quite the entourage of kobolds. Right, so I know you got a lot on your plate other than, well, you did, actually, I guess. Taking care of that dragon, I guess you have less to worry about. But if it's not too pressing for anything else, we could go deal with Vi immediately. Head south to the spine of the world, to the Sunblight, and try to stop her before whatever it is that she's going to do. I'm open to any ideas that you have.
It seems the wisest thing to do as of now. It is the most pressing direct threat.
There's not supposed to be another lottery until next month.
Right. Yes. Every month, they send fools out into the cold.
What do they do with the bodies? Do they simply leave them where they freeze?
There has never been a body found. It is assumed that she takes them.
These maps, what kind of detail do you have on them?
Well, there is an incredible cartographer that drew these maps. Lots of detail here. Of course, the cities are represented by all of their heraldry, but yes, plenty of detail. What are you looking for?
Well, information is always helpful. We know the layout of where we're going, we know distances, we can properly plan for the expected and maybe a little bit of the unexpected. Look, I'm just trying to change the subject. I don't want to talk anymore about last night.
Well, the old fortress is in the mountains. So it's going to be rough up there. It's even colder, dangerous passages, and of course, you gotta watch out for the bigger dangers of avalanches. And then he looks over at you, Drown, the Goliath tribes.
They are in these Spine of the World mountains.
I believe there's at least one tribe that makes their home down there. They have been nomadic, moving throughout the tundra. But there is at least one tribe at Mount Raghead, and I believe there is another tribe down through the spine. But if we're careful, we keep our distance, we shouldn't have to worry.
Are they hostile to you?
I've had the misfortune of pissing off one or two Goliaths in my time.
Hmm.
A lesser being might not have survived that.
That is likely true.
Do they, beyond their own tribe, do they hold any allegiance? Would they desire to keep this Vi in her power, or would they be thrilled if we remove her?
That would be a wonderful question to ask them if we encounter them. I don't know in what regard they hold this druid. If she's affecting the mountain, I can't imagine they'll be happy.
So you have maps of the land in the surrounding area, but do you happen to have any layouts of this old fortress? The ways in and out of it, maybe the lesser known ways in or out of it, if possible?
I've never been. I only know where it is. It could be possible that there could be somebody that could... With enough coin, you can find somebody who knows something about whatever it is you're looking for. It's possible I could find somebody that has been there. As I said, it's been uninhabited for a couple of decades. Uninhabited usually invites people looking to see what was left behind. That's no small feat, though, for a mountain fortress.
You said it was occupied for a time by the Dwagar, but does anyone know who built the place?
For all I know, it was the Durgar.
If it was, we might be in luck. The Dwagar don't build so differently than the dwarves. We might be able to find our way around there easy enough if they were in fact the original masons of it.
Well, that would be fortunate for you, then.
How long of a journey are we anticipating?
This is going to be days. You have sleds? Dogs?
We do. We'll need to replace some dogs.
What did you do to your dogs? Wait, never mind.
We did nothing. A dragon killed them.
That's a good one. There's only one dragon I know of in these parts.
Probably none now.
Dragon.
Imagine that number is 0.
Wait.
Did they have scales like this? And I'll just pull out a handful of Aviatrix scales.
I love how Thorgarn keeps those ready to anybody.
How about like a keychain?
I killed Aviatrix.
Well,
Oh, you know.
I'll be. I thought Baron was telling tall tales. And I told you. The Dawnbringers are not people you want to mess with. I knew them before they were the Dawnbringers, and they were something to be contended with. Which is why this Vi is a dangerous person. I know she's dangerous. Well, if you defeated old Arphiatris, then maybe you have a chance. I can help you gather supplies. I can see what I can find out if anybody's been up there. As I said, it'll take some coin. And you just hear this click, click, click as he's tapping a talon on the table.
How much coin you need?
Well, there's dogs to get and supplies to get, some palms to grease. Probably gonna need about 20. And he kind of you see his eyes flicker over to Gerta Brelnai, sort of just catching the firelight. As he says, 200 gold ought to cover it.
Yeah, if I could, I'd like to insight roll this mofo.
Sure.
Where's... I don't remember where background information is. Where is... features and traits? No, anyways. I have one of the personality traits is I always think that I'm being cheated. So
That's under description.
Insight,
for
that's a
future
dirty
reference.
20.
Oh, I got a 19.
Is that, description. Thank you.
I got a 19.
Yeah.
So yeah, you sense that he's trying to overprice this so he can make a profit. What you do with that is up to you, but
Well, I think that maybe you can take 20 to start with. After we see the kind of work that you do, maybe we can pay you back.
right. Okay. And he just stares with kind of squinting his eyes at you for a moment, and then he just laughs. All right. I'll get started right away. And he scoops up the 20 gold and heads out the door. So, we're going to go into the mountains, find out where Vi is holed up, and looks to Talmud and Cantriel. Baron says, and then
Cantriel
what?
isn't there. She left.
Oh, that's
she
right, you
the
left.
Tavern. Yeah.
Looks to Talmud, and then what? Yeah.
Vi chose her path. She decided how this would end. It's not going to be an easy thing to do, but it's the right thing to do.
But what is the thing that you're going to do? You're going to kill her?
Aye.
Okay.
Do you have the stomach for it?
I know for you, it's been less than a calendar year since we last saw each other. But for me, it's been 8 years, Talmud. I've earned my fair share of scars and experience. Not without bloodying my blades. I have the stomach for
But
it.
it isn't the constitution of war that I question in you. It's the fact that you knew her that makes a world of difference.
I get what you're saying. I understand the weight. I may not have the experience, but I understand the weight putting someone you know to the sword. If that is how this ends, then I'm behind you.
Glad to hear that.
Cantriel, where did you go when you left the bar?
She went to find the widow Iron Spoke's house.
You had enough information to go on from the night before that they were from the south side of town. Would you ask around? How are you finding your way to their place?
Probably would stop and ask as she's getting to the south side. Could you direct me towards her home type of thing?
You only have to ask one person. You come up to this one person and ask about the widow Iron Spoke. And you're already well into the south part of town. And he says he's an older human man. And he says, married one street over. You'll know it when you see it.
Thank you.
Using his directions, you head one street over. And as you come around the corner, you see a couple dozen people lined up outside of a homestead. All of them are bearing baskets wrapped in linen, carrying fresh plucked goose. You see a couple of young men are carrying, or rather leading some pigs. Several people with fresh baked goods. You can smell bread, cookies, meat pies. The people here in Bryn Shander, and in particular in this neighborhood, are taking care of the Iron Spokes. It seems that in many towns you've seen the traditions of usually following a funeral service of people gathering and sharing in food and memories. In this case, people are bringing food and livestock and what have you to the family. Do you still approach?
Is there anyone near her who kind of looks like they would be family?
Closer to the homestead, there are, I would say that there's probably half a dozen or so other halflings. And it looks like, just through observation, you see the widow Iron Spoke, and you recognize that this other halfling woman must be her sister, and it's her sister's family that seems to be sort of guiding everybody. She seems to have some older children. There's a couple of teenage girls that are leading the pigs into a pen around the back of the house. She's just sort of like traffic directing people with baked goods this way, this food here, and carefully controlling how many and who is allowed to go in the house to actually talk to the widow directly.
Cantriel would go to her and start speaking with her first, realizing this is the person in charge, not the widow.
Well, hello. If you've got livestock, it can go to the girls there. If you've got baked goods, over this way. If you've got anything that's needs special storage or anything like that, you can bring it over to my son here. But I'm sorry, did you have anything?
I have a few things. They're of more, they're not simple items. There's something, if I could, I would like to give to her directly. I won't take up much of her time.
And you are?
My name is Cantriel.
Cantriel.
I'm new to town.
Cantriel Cavatina.
Yes. Wait, how do you know my last name?
I met your friend, Baron. I work with the town speaker, Duvessa Shane. And I know you by description and by reputation only. Baron seems like a nice enough fellow. We hosted him the first couple days he was in town. I did ask him to go to the North Look. It was more accustomed to the amount of drinking he likes to do. But yes, it is simply because I work with the town speaker in the town speaker's office. It's why I know who you and the rest of the Dawnbringers are. It's not through being any kind of busybody. The name is Miriam Kettlewhistle.
Hello, Miriam. I promise I'm not going to monopolize her time at all.
Please, I'm sure you understand the sensitivity of the situation, but more out of curiosity than anything else, I'll let you go in.
Thank you. What is her name?
Her name.
My last.
Her name is Tessa.
Tessa. Thank you.
She immediately turns and says, No, there's already been 6 pigs brought in. We greatly appreciate what you're doing. We need chickens. If you insist on livestock, and that kind of fades off in the background. At least chickens lay damn eggs. And you are able to go inside the house, where it is unlike Nimsy Huddle's home, which is more suited. It does have some halfling fixtures, but was more suited. Looked like it was adapted from a average size family. This is a halfling house. Everything is much smaller in here. So you find yourself having to duck through the doorway, and things are a little closer than you might expect them. But you come inside, and you find that you see the teenage boy from the night before is actually standing off to the side behind his mother, is holding the small child in his arms. And there is a middle-aged halfling man who is just sort of finishing a low conversation with Tessa. And he kind of tilts his head to the side and gives a sympathetic nod and pats her hand and says, "Well, just remember, if you need anything at all, we're just up the street." And she just smiles back at him, and he excuses himself as he passes by you, Cantriel. And you are left alone in the house with Tessa and her children.
Right away would introduce myself to her and say that her sister allowed me to come in.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Cantriel. This is my son, Rickard. That's my daughter, Kelly. What
I
what brings you here? I don't know you. But if Miriam sent you in,
you don't know me, but I know part of your children's story. I lost my parents as a child, and I know what it was like afterwards. I have some things I'd like to give to you to help you out down the line, for the children, for you, if you'll allow me to.
of course.
First of all, this is for you. It's very basic. It's very unsentimental. But should you need it, it's there. And she'll take out of her pocket a pouch filled with 200 gold pieces.
She has a look of confusion as you hand her this pouch, and she just says, well, thank you, I guess every little bit. And she kind of looks inside. Oh my. This is much too much. Why are you giving this to me?
Because someone did for me what I would like to do for you. There's no strings attached to this. There are no expectations. It is for you, for your comfort, for a peace of mind. That you have this should you need it.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Cantriel. I don't even... thank you.
May I give your son something? And your daughter?
You've already given so much, I can't imagine what else you could give, but...
Ricard,
yes.
You said?
Ricard.
She'll turn right to Ricard. Ricard, this... And she pulls out of her pocket the pipe of remembrance. It might look simple. It might look like what you'll see any old fogey walking around, puffing upon, filling the air either with sweet vanilla smells or perhaps the most rancid cheap tobacco ever. But this is different. This will help you tell stories. This will help you relive memories.
He kind of looks over before he reaches his hand out, and then he kind of closes his fingers and he looks to his mom with this look of like, can I? And she says,
I'm not saying now.
She says, it's all right. You're the man of the house now, Ricard. And you are a man.
When you're ready, share stories about your father. Keep his memory alive for you and your mother, and to help your sister learn about him. Get to know him.
Thank you, ma'am. I will.
Keep it safe.
Oh, I will.
And then how old is Kelly, would you say?
Kelly is looks to be no more than 2. Looks like that she could possibly walk around on her own if set down, but seems to be very clingy and very quiet. So yeah, a little toddler.
Then Cantriel will turn around to Tessa again, and she pulls out of her pocket a gold rose, technically worth 5 gold, but she'll hand it over to Tessa. Give this to her. When she's older, just let her know that someone wanted to tend to her, as one widow rose.
I will do that. Thank you so much for the kindness you've shown my family. I can't tell you how much it means.
I may have an idea, but I will not keep you any longer. I wish I could have done more for you, but hopefully this will be enough for a while.
May the light of the morning Lord bless your path, Cantriel.
Thank you, Tessa. May you feel the warmth of summer on your skin. Again, sometime. I hope.
It's what we pray every day.
Cantriel will just sort of like not quite turn around, but sort of duck her head down in respect to Tessa and to the children, and she'll just quietly make her way out and head back to the tavern. No pomp or circumstance or anything about it. She just, that was her goal, mission accomplished, she'll head back.
As you leave, taking with you your point of inspiration for that incredible scene, we see Cantriel sort of step through this low doorway of this halfling home, bundle herself, pull her collar a little closer as she begins heading back north the way she came. As she's walking away, the door to the Iron Spoke homestead opens up, and as Miriam lets another person enter the homestead, we catch a glimpse of Tessa holding the child Kelly as Ricard has lit the pipe. And you hear a shocked gasp and a giggle from the child Kelly as the smoke forms into an image of Kellen Ironspoke. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session. Because I've narrated 3 things now tonight that have brought me close to tearing up. This was an emotional session. Wonderfully role played by all of you. This was a tough thing to deal with, but the story brought us to this point, and the Dawnbringers have now seen on a more personal level the price that is being paid here in the north. So in the meantime, the mysterious new ally, the Silver Dragonborn Torvis, is assisting in trying to get some things rallied for you so that you may continue in your efforts to hunt down Vi and stop her before she carries out her malevolent plan. Something we talked about during the break, not all of you heard it, and certainly you in the audience didn't hear. 2 sessions ago, the Dawnbringers killed an ancient white dragon and one of the primary antagonists of this season. Following that session, this should have happened, but it's going to happen now instead. You are all leveling to 13. So you will be at 13 for a while, I expect, because you're now on the threshold of one of the major level ups. 13 to 14 is a big jump for most classes. A lot of things unlock at 14. But before we go, I would like to have everybody go ahead and roll up their HP for their HP increases. While I think you guys go ahead and start rolling those, I just want to say a huge thank you, as always, to our incredible audience, whether you were actively participating in chat or chants. If that's your thing, that's fine too. Or you were lurking in the background. We greatly appreciate you, no matter what. We also appreciate those who have resubscribed, subscribed, etc. Thank you for supporting the channel. I saw some cheers, though everybody was muted. Dan threw his arms up. Looks like he rolled max on the HP increase.
Nope, that's max hit points. Yay!
There you go. All right, how'd the rest of you do? Cantriel goes up by 4. If you rolled a 1, re-roll it. Oh, did you roll a 1, Jeremy? Yeah, I always allow 1s to be re-rolled.
Yeah,
And
I had a 1.
we have established that domain dice can be used if you want to gamble on. You can only do it once, and you have to take the new number, but you can gamble on a higher number with a domain die. We did get about I think 6 of them tonight.
So
In fact,
I did roll a 1 initially.
Okay, and you re-rolled
so
that.
You let me re-roll it once, but I'm gonna gamble if it's still allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. Then I won't have to reset the number because I did forget to add one for a recent subscription.
Okay, that's much better. That's a acceptable, respectable number.
And Fig's getting a new spell level.
It's going to be a 10 for Thorgarn.
Awesome.
That is 4 points above average. So yay.
All right, well, that's everybody. So go ahead and take care of what you need to as far as leveling your characters up. The Dawnbringers are now level 13 adventurers as they continue on their quest to do a number of things here. There's at least 3 major things they're trying to do here in Icewind Dale, and we'll continue next week. Be sure to tune into Talon and Claw on Twitch here. You see if this will work. Tune into Talon and Claw all weekend. I think that's right. Yeah, there we go. Give them a follow and tune in all weekend for Talon and Claw TwitchCon 2021. Lots of games and events and things happening, from trivia to Jackbox. I think there's some Among Us going on one night. There's Sea of Thieves on Sunday night for 4 hours. I'm running a D&D game featuring the Evangeline in a either an earlier timeline or an alternate timeline from the Dawnbringers. We don't know. That will be on Saturday afternoon. Dwight the Big Bearded Nerd and Jordan, the other 2/3 of MTD, are going to be in a game on Saturday, I believe. Jordan might be playing on Friday, actually, with the Fenway game. Dwight's playing in a game run by the dual DMs of D4. So check it out. It's going to be a great weekend. All of it going to benefit Jaspers. And we made the announcement on Twitter, effective as of this last week. We are canceling our Monday night All That Glitters Dungeon of the Mad Mage campaign. We had we enjoyed the games that we played. We enjoyed playing together, and the first almost 2 years we played the Waterdeep Dragon Heist under the DM Wiles of Mike the Piper, and we've decided that we're struggling to get that story going in a cohesive story through a massive mega dungeon crawl. So instead, what we are doing is within a couple weeks after the Jasper's Game Week, epic week of fundraising and stuff for Jasper's, we are going to debut what is tentatively and possibly permanently called Scribes and Scrolls, the Candlekeep Mysteries. And it will, of course, feature myself as Dungeon Master. Dwight, the big bearded nerd, will be playing. M will be playing. D&D Jordan Lee will be playing. Ricky will be playing. And we are going to be adding a 5th player to be announced at a later time. And that we are planning on being an epic campaign. The Candlekeep Mysteries feature 17 adventures. And we are going to run it as a full-on campaign. So be sure to tune in for that. Stay tuned for more information. We are very excited about that. If you missed it last night, you'll be able to catch the VOD soon over on Erasmus Expeditions. Every other Wednesday, Jeremy is running his mini campaign of Convergence. They ran their session 1 last night. M was in that, along with our friends Matt Click, Austin Anderson, Karen, and Jackson. I believe I got everybody in that one. Of course, under the incredible DMs stylings of Jeremy. And we're working out the scheduling. I don't remember. Did we get a date locked in yet on Untraditionally Arcane?
I think we're looking at the 2nd, and
that's right.
Sadly playing without our illustrious V.
So I will be there along with Asa, Robin, and Frag under Ted DMing for our Untraditionally Arcane Chaos Crew adventures over on Nerdarchy Live. So be sure to check that out as well. All right, that's it. We're done here. We are going to go ahead and end this stream. I do want to again thank everybody in the chat. And actually thank you to the recently, as of last week, moderated RQ Staffen, who has become our resident archivist here at MTD and Big Bearded Nerd, wherever they show up, doing the duty of capturing all the awesome clips, posting them in the Discord over at MTD Discord. We went ahead and modded Staffen because that way they can post the links directly in the chat, so you can see those there as well. So thank you so much for that. And of course, thank you to Dan, V, M, Ted, and Jeremy, without whom it would just be me talking to myself for 3 hours. We're going to go ahead and end the stream the same way we end every stream, and you can say it with me if you want.
Yeah.